from the waist up and completely flat. Very peculiar details that I've never heard about in any ghost story or other paranormal stories. If anyone has any guess as to what the actual bleep that was, I'd love to hear some theories. TBH I might delete this post, but I wanted to use my real, regular account to show that I am a real person, kinda important nowadays. As the title says, both me and my sister saw something and that night has stuck with me for decades. It's honestly something I think about almost every day. However, it's something I usually do not like to talk about or even think about too deeply, but for some reason I keep getting the urge to post about it on here. So here we go. Let's get a few things out the way. I do not have any history with drug use, nor do I have any major mental illnesses in my family. With that out of the way, the event happened when I was 12, just before turning 13, so definitely old enough to know what's what and not have too much of an overactive imagination. What happened? I was sleeping, but woke up to the feeling of my blankets getting slowly pulled off of me. I then pulled my blanket back up only to have it yanked back again violently. Since I was sleeping on my stomach, I then turned over, and as I was getting ready to sit up, I saw two figures in front of me on the wall. Note the word on the wall, which I'll get to later. As soon as I saw them, it became very hard to move, even though I had no issues rolling over just prior, and I couldn't scream no matter how hard I tried. My head was filled with this high-pitched noise. The two figures just looked at me, and it seemed like they were communicating with each other, but they never moved closer. After what seemed like eternity, I struggled to pull the blanket over my head, and I laid perfectly still, terrified, until I finally fell asleep. That seemed like my only option at the time, because I was way too scared to even attempt to run past them. Now here's where things get more weird. Firstly, the house that happened in was a brand new home. My family was the first to live there. Secondly, the two figures were identical, and they were only from the waistline. The two figures were also completely flat, hence my words on the wall, like 2D projections. As they communicated, there was a slight shimmer, for lack of a better term, almost static-like. Even their appearance looked almost projection-like, all white with a soft bluish glow. No real distinctive bleep features, but very dark areas where the eyes would be. In fact, the faces looked more mask-like than human. As I said before, the event hit me so deep that I tried not to speak about it, even though I often thought about it. But one day, many years later, well into adulthood, me and my sister are at my dad's house, and we start talking about how that house must have been haunted or something. She starts telling me some of the odd things she saw. Then I tell her about what I saw, and she practically finishes my sentences when I start talking about how the figures were only from the waist up and completely flat. Very peculiar details that I've never heard about in any ghost story or other paranormal stories. If anyone has any guess as to what the actual bleep that was, I'd love to hear some theories. Through the years, I've tried my best to justify it away from many perspectives, but the details are just too specific to fit any rationalized explanation.